It's me, Mario.
Hello, hello, welcome. It's me, Hi Pie. Hope you had a bloody marvellous day. It's me, Mario. So, welcome to episode 5 of Smoko with Mario. And as I said, there is another um, biscuit that's high on my list of dunkers. Although I had inadvertently forgotten the Anzac biscuit, which came into my range, into my vision last week with Anzac Day. The Anzac biscuit is a bloody good dunker. Thanks to Moz and his intrepid searching, um, it's a it's an eggless biscuit, the Anzac biscuit, made from golden syrup and oats and various other bits and bobs, but it is designed to last and was sent over during the First World War, I think, into the trenches for the guys there to have with their smoko, as they probably called it, or some of the more English files might have called it morning tea or afternoon tea. But I think smoko is probably the abiding sort of one. Remembering, of course, that they all got a tobacco ration, whether they needed it or not. And so I think that's probably, like, I know my dad smoked, and probably, one of the reasons for the sort of high smoking rate that came out after the war, because you're all issued with tobacco whether you smoked or not. And like in some areas, I understand in prisons and things like that, that it became a bit of a currency. I remember back in the 70s, the 70s, late 70s, I had a job as a periodic detention warden. And so I used to go in on a Saturday and look after a group of guys doing community work, and it was a part of their sentence that they spent all day on the Saturday doing the community work. And funnily enough, I was actually in charge of smoko and lunch. I used to have to organise that for the guys, and organise them to organise it. So that was a bit of fun in itself. The old lunch that we used to cook up, cheap and cheerful, but filled them up, I guess. I don't know whether for some of them it was the best meal they had of the week, but I actually, towards the end, I used to look after the ones at Upper Hut, and I used to give the guy there, a guy and his girlfriend, actually, they just used to come in. I'd leave the stuff there, and their community service was they'd come in and cook the lunch and feed the boys and go home, and they were quite happy with that. Interesting character, but used to bring his girlfriend along to help him. I don't think that was in the rules, but hey, flexibility. So here we have, anyway, the chocolate wheaten, milk chocolate wheaten. Now there's a milk chocolate and a dark chocolate. I prefer the milk chocolate. Again, they're made by our premier biscuit maker here in New Zealand, the Griffins. But these are a beauty. These ones, they give you a real double whammy in a sense, because they're a chocolate wheaten. This is my handy little knife that I have with me because I have trouble opening packets and things. I keep this around. So here you are. Here's the biscuit. You can see they've got a chocolate on the one side and then this wheaten on the other. And you've got to be a bit careful with these. If you dunk them too long, the chocolate melts and goes to the bottom, and they get soggy very quickly. But so you get that nice effect of a little sort of melting chocolate with a soggy wheaten. Very nice. Obviously they wouldn't last long in the trenches, these ones, but they are very nice. So this is more of a, well, this is more of an afternoon smoko type scenario here. It's just gone 5 o'clock, so we've probably only got half an hour of light. It's going to probably get quite dark towards the end of this, but been a wonderful day. Coming into winter, so it's the 2nd of May, and yeah, it's been a beautiful day, a lovely day, and it's been a wonderful day too. I had a lovely bit of a sleep in, and then I got into, I decided that I had a few tasks, and I was actually, for my students, I've been looking at study methods. So I watched quite a good video on YouTube about the various study methods. I was quite interested in flashcards is what I was looking for, but I came up with this other one anyway. Spaced repetition, which is based on the forgetting curve, the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. There was this one method called the Pomodoro method. Never heard of it. Miles, you might be, ears might be pricking up here if you're listening. Because, of course, the Pomodoro is the Italian for tomato. Yeah, it's the tomato method. Well, so in this method, you set a little timer and you work for 15 minutes. And that's called a Pomodoro. And then you have a 3-minute break. And then I'm still sort of finding out a little bit about it. And there's quite a lot of apps that you can get for it. And then you do another Pomodoro, or 25 minutes. And another break, 3 to 5 minutes. And you focus, you don't have all sorts of things. You just focus on the one task. And yeah. I mean, when you've done 4 Pomodoros, and there's various variations to it, both in the time and the breaks and how you do it. But when you've done 4, then you have a big break, like maybe a smoko, perhaps. See how I segued that in there? Pretty bloody good, actually, I thought. Yeah, apparently it's a good way of studying, keeps you fresh and focused. So Pomodoro, why is it called Pomodoro or tomato? Well, the guy that developed it used a little kitchen timer that was in the shape of a tomato. So these wheatons, I mean, normally, a normal person maybe have, well, there's a stack of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 20 of them. I've got them in the pyramid. Oh no, I'll just have that one there. So there I've got 5, 4, 3, 2, like that. So, but normally you might just get 4 or 5 of them in your lunchbox or something. But I'm chomping through these, so that's going to play a little bit of play Bobsy Die with my diet, which has been going quite good well over the last few days. So watch out for developments in that space. Bloody marvellous. So yes, today was a really wonderful sort of day, and that I got up and decided on this. But first up, I thought I'll mow some lawn, get a bit of lawn mowed. So I went out and mowed one section of lawn. I have the property divided into 7 sections, supposedly one a day, but I was going to try and get most of them done this weekend. So I did 2 yesterday, and so I did one and got into the second, and then I was going to go and do some marking, but I got up close to the fence and my neighbour I could see that he wanted to talk to me, so I stopped the mower and invited me in to have a look at the new home that they're building, which was really good. Nice look around, see how it's situated in relation to my place, and a bit of a chat about it, and things like that. I've had a few little side interests in it on around the surveying and things like that. Nothing major, but so we're good. And then I had a wee chat to him about another couple of other matters and things like that. And then just as I was leaving, the people from across the road were heading out for lunch, walking around the corner for lunch, and there was people. It was such a beautiful day. People were out and about and walking around. It was just so nice. So just reminded me so much of community and what things used to be like in the 60s and things like that, when everyone just stayed around home and walked everywhere. So, really nice. Beautiful weather. Beautiful, beautiful weather, which was always a bonus. Always a bonus. So, yeah, that was nice. Very, very nice feeling, nice vibe. And then I went on and did some marking. 2 pomodoros, and yeah, went out and mowed. No, 2 pomodoros, almost 4, I think. I got all my marking done. That's right, got all my marking done, and went out and took a bit of video around the shots, because that was no, back the truck up. I got all my marking done and then went out and did some more mowing, and got all the mowing that I wanted done. I've only got 1 left to do, a little bit out on the street, so pretty good. Got that done, and then that was only about an hour or so ago. I came in and I had a cup of tea and went down to our local super value shop to buy the biscuits and a bit of cheese and stuff. And that's it's not a super, well, it's a small sort of local, I wouldn't call it a supermarket. It has a checkout with usually 1 person in it, sometimes 2. I guess the best description of it is a mini market, but it's very local, a lot of local people there. No pretension. Bloody marvellous, actually. I love it there. It was good. Great there. A few chats with a few people. Well, interactions and what have you. Very good. Very good. Couple of the local kids stacking the shelves. The proprietor's son doing a bit of work or that sort of thing. Very nice. Very good vibe. Quite enjoyed that. So, yeah. And then I've come home and now I'm having a beautiful cup of tea. With way too many chocolate, milk chocolate, wheat and biscuits, but they're bloody nice. And they're sitting in front of me and I'm here, you know, having a bit of a smoko. Once I've finished here, I'll go in and have a bit of tea and things like that. So, smoko isn't always work related. It can be, you know, you can have it whenever you like, really. It was always in the old, you know, it used to be a big part of what we used to call working bees. A working bee. So you might have one at the local local school or the church or somewhere. Might have a working bee to, you know, do something, dig out a swimming pool or paint a roof or, oh, you know, even small things like cleaning the classrooms or stuff like that. So you'd all go along there. And my dad, he was a hard worker. Dad, he was, you know, he was pretty good on the shovel. He was a biggish bloke, not and you know, big strong guy. I think when he played rugby, he was in the front row, a prop or a hooker or something like that. So he was quite big built, sort of solid sort of guy. You know, somewhere between 15 and maybe 17, 18 stone. He was pretty big dude. Not only about my height, but you know, yeah. So, but he could work hard, you know, and he was used to working hard. Not that he had a clerical job, but you know, always came home and did his bit. But he used to despair at some of the other guys there, in particular. They put on a few flagons, or beers, but they were in a half-gallon jar, half-gallon glass jar. The old flagon. They had various names. Jars, they used to call them. A couple of jars. Go down and get a couple of jars. Flagons. Main one, they're half-gallon. And in the early days, they used to have a cork in them. A cork and a screw top. I'm not sure. A cork and a screw top, I think. And big. They were big, you know, or probably an inch, maybe, or not quite an inch, but they were a big cork that used to have in them, and there was all sorts of ways. If you didn't have a corkscrew, you'd have to push the cork in, and then you have to get it out. Now these flagons, of course, were refillable. So you could take them down to the pub. Now, I don't know if you used to swap them. I'd swap the flagons around and take them down there. And so you used to get a lot of guys. I don't know, they used to have these bowling bags. I think they were a bag that you could put your bowling balls and stuff in. Well, they were a suitcase, you know, and they were like that. And they were perfect fit 2 flagons, which is a gallon of beer, would, you know, be perfectly fit in those, fit perfectly in these bags, you see. So you'd see these guys walking down to the bottle store or that with their bowling bag, and then come back. In the area there where I lived, there was no pub. We were actually dry. Well, there was no pub, but there was a bottle store. We're in the licensing trust area, which meant all the alcohol had to be sold by the licensing trust. They controlled the whole thing. And then the profit from that went back into the community. So, probably a licensing trust. That's right. So you go down to the bottle floor, and you could still get, you know, half dozen of big bottles, or a dozen, or a crate, or whatever. The flagons were very popular. And the flagons also fitted in the beer crates, like a dozen beer. You get a dozen bottles. We could get 5 flagons in a beer crate, 5. And in one of the ABC beer crates, you get 5 flagons in there. So, yeah. So, you know, whoever was holding the working bee would put on a few flagons, you know, for the boys. But once they finished, which was sort of smoko, really, afterwards, everyone would have a few beers. But Dad reckoned as it got closer and closer towards smoko, all these guys would sort of start working closer. They'd make their way closer towards the flagons, so that as soon as the corks were popped, you know, they'd be in there. And most of the working bees that Dad went to were for the church, you know. We were Catholics, so they used to run their own schools and that. So they had quite a few working bees to do various things around the schools and what have you. So yeah, often Dad would come home and tell these stories of the who did bugger all, who drank the most, sort of thing. Yeah, it was always something at one of those things. I hadn't planned to eat all those, but it looks like I'm going to. One day I'll get a visitor to my smoko, so I'll have to share. Perhaps that'll be good for my diet. So yeah, they're all flagons, crate of flagons. And that was a big do. You know, bowling bag. Dad and the guy next door, Bill Ashford, Bill used to make home brew. That was a whole nother story. Every state house, our house was a state house, and Bill's, but they had been purchased. They all had a little shed out the back, a little wooden shed that, you know, was just standard shed, 2 meters by 2 meters, I don't know. Anyway, our shed was like a tool shed. Dad had a bench and a vice and that. But Bill's shed was a brewery. He had all these bottles in the walls, sort of stacked in the walls, and various paraphernalia and rubber tubes and all sorts of carry-on in there. And he'd brew, make this home brew. Well, what it was like, I don't know, but, and Dad would buy, he'd buy a flagon. He'd buy a flagon. On a Saturday afternoon, or lunch, or whatever, I'd get together for a natter. Dad's father, Martin, he was worked in the post and telegraph. Was a linesman, so he knew how to put it in power poles and things. And he'd put a post in by the shed and made it into a bit of a stile so that they could get over to Bill's shed and have their beers. And Dad would take his flagon, and Bill would have his home brew, and they'd mix it half and half, and then, you know, have a few bevies there, and yeah, talk about chat. And that was their smoko, I suppose, there. And there was another guy next door who used to live next door. Now he was an English guy by the name of Bell. His first name? Ian, I think. Ian Bell? Ian, that's right. And they used to call him Ding Dong. So obvious. It's so funny. Ding Dong Bell. Ding Dong used to like a beer. He was an English guy, had one of those big bushy moustaches. So I don't know what you call them. They look like the brass handle on those old desks and that. They come out like that. Ian Bell. And then, so when they were in the shed there, he'd come outside, and the houses were all the same. They were all the same houses, and they all had a path out the back to the shed. And they have a path. I don't know whether it was part of the thing or anyway. Dad might have made the path. I'm not sure. And so he'd walk up and down this path and sniff and snort. And then, would you like a beer? Would you like a beer, Ding Dong? And then he'd come over, jump the fence and come over. But I think they used to play him along a little bit. And old Ding Dong. He didn't stay that long. He moved on. And then the next guy up, Keith Cunningham, I think he might have been party to it as well. I'm not quite sure. He'd come down and have a bit of a join in as well. And the guy up the back, I don't know, John Watson, not sure whether, no, it might have from time to time, but yeah. And in that shed, actually, they, I think Keith must have been part of it, because they came up with they decided to form the local rugby club, Tite Bay Rugby Club, and the three of them were life members, Keith Cunningham, Bill Ashford, and Peter O'Neill. Yeah, and so obviously over their flagons and homebrew, smoko. I don't know that there was ever any food involved. Can't ever remember them eating anything. And probably was just before lunch. They'd do it before lunch. So yeah. So there you are. Another smoko draws to an end. I had some other stories planned for this one, but those ones just naturally occurred. So well, I hope you enjoyed my smoko. brought to you by Griffin's Chocolate Wheatons. I had thought there might be some left for my lovely wife, but yeah, looks like she's out of luck today. So cheers, bloody marvellous.
It's me, Mario.